pears are really one of the finest fruits you can have, especially if you're diabetic and you don't want a large spike in your blood sugar. I happen to like the Comus pear, especially when you keep it refrigerated. It's cold, but it's very juicy inside. Other people have Bosc pear they like. All pears are good. Now, we've all heard the phrase an apple a day, and it's true. In fact, it's actually the apple skin that I've suggested that you take if you're diabetic or you have cancer, or you have heart disease, or you have dementia or Alzheimer's. 4 apples. You don't throw away the apple. You can still juice it or blend it, but it's the apple skins that have the power, and you want to put those 4 apple skins into a blender, add in 1 teaspoon of coconut oil, 1 teaspoon of flaxseed oil, and a handful of walnuts, your favorite non-dairy liquid, like, let's say cashew milk or almond milk or rice milk, and then spike that with a little vitamin C, and that really helps your heart, helps protect you against cancer, but also is very good for stabilizing your blood sugar. Now, this is from North Dakota State University. Here's what it says, quote, "A new study suggests that pears, as a part of a healthy diet, could play a role in helping to manage type 2 diabetes and diabetes-induced hypertension." That's high blood pressure. The results, published in Food Research International, show health benefits of Bartlett pears. Building on their previous studies, the research team from North Dakota State University, Fargo, and University of Massachusetts studied whether the peel, the pulp, or the juice of pears could impact the prevention management of type 2 diabetes and hypertension, and also destroy that bacteria called Helicobacter pylori, which plays a role in intestinal ulcers. The research team found that in their experiments, especially with high blood sugar and high blood pressure, that it is the phenolics. Now, I've mentioned many times in this program, the phenolics are compounds found in fruits that provide a wide variety of benefits. And the phenolic is in the skin of the pear, more so than the flesh or the pulp. And indeed, your highest phenolic is always in the skin, in the peel. That's why to get the really best from oranges or grapefruits or lemons or limes, you should use the skin also. It'll be a bitter, but it'll really be powerful. And for people with cancer that I'm suggesting, for example, a juicing regimen in their diet, building up to as many as 13 glasses of juice a day, it's the whole fruit that they're using. Quote, "Such dietary strategy involving fruits, including pears, not only potentially could help better control blood glucose levels, but also reduce our dependence on drugs for prediabetic stages, or complement a reduced pharmacological dose of drugs with side effects to combat very early stages type 2 diabetes." So, it's all good when it comes to pears. But there's something else in the fruit family that's good for you, and this is from Louisiana State University, and that is blueberries. Why? Because blueberries can help treat post-traumatic stress disorder. That's correct. A new study has revealed that blueberries can help PTSD, and it's been shown to help manifest with an increase in serotonin and the neurotransmitter neuroepinephrine, and to increase the neuroepinephrine might reduce the effectiveness of the conventional therapy, but I don't believe in the conventional therapy of taking Prozac or Paxil at all. I don't believe anyone should take them for any reason. In the new study, Louisiana State University looked at the ability of blueberries to modulate neurotransmitter levels in a rat model of post-traumatic stress disorder, and they supplemented with the blueberry, 2% of the diet blueberry, and then another group with no blueberry, and they found a substantial difference. So, here's the takeaway message. Anyone you know who suffers from stress, distress, post-traumatic stress, have them eat blueberries every day. You can get them fresh. Wild blueberries are your best. But also, you can take blueberry juice. You can take blueberry concentrate or blueberry powder. They're all good. And from the Technion Institute in Israel, a study of researchers suggested just a daily half a glass of superfruit juice could protect against heart attacks and strokes. This was published in the peer-reviewed journal Atherosclerosis, and its findings show that pomegranate concentrate helps delay the risk factors affecting the onset of atherosclerosis and its consequences. Quote, this is from Professor Averim. The pomegranate fruit addresses both the levels of cholesterol and its oxidation rate because it contains both the phytosterols, beta-sitosterol, and a most potent antioxidant. Therefore, concentrates of pomegranate juice can delay the oxidation of cholesterol, and in addition, it lowers cholesterol levels because the phytosterols it contains without causing unwanted side effects reported by patients taking high-statin drugs. And that was published in the recent issue of Food and Function, a journal of the Royal Society of Chemistry. And also, selenium reduces heart damage following a cardiac arrest, a heart attack. This was an important piece of research. And what they found was it didn't take much, 200 micrograms. That's a normal day supply. But most people don't even get that much. So for those of you who are susceptible to any form of heart disease, take a little container, little small, little tiny pill container. You can buy them. And in it, put the following. Put selenium capsules. Put what is called high heat index pepper, cayenne pepper. Magnesium from citrate, 400 milligram tablets or capsules. Coenzyme Q10 from bubiquinone. They come in at 400 and 600. I would do either one. And hawthorn, 200 milligrams. Now, all these are capsules. And in case you find yourself starting to have a heart attack or a stroke, you immediately take these because they immediately can help you. They can thin the blood. They can help with the increased circulation into the heart or to the brain. It can save your life. Absolutely save your life. And finally, on this issue, from Oregon State University, published in the Journal of Lipid Research, they found that if you don't have enough vitamin E, you're more susceptible to neurological damage. So my suggestion would be 400 units of mixed natural tocopherols in the morning and 400 in the afternoon for a total of 800 milligrams or units a day. Finally, some ways you don't realize stress is really adversely affecting your life. I remember interviewing early in my career on a regular basis and then having a conversation with Dr. Hans Selye. Dr. Selye was probably the most important person after Pavlov's experiments with dogs. Salivating dogs ring a bell, they salivate, even though there's no food, because they were trained when the bell rang to have food. And what happens to the body's cortisol levels and stress hormone levels when you expect something and you're not given it to it, and suddenly, without what you're expecting, you go into a physiological stressful place. You've heard people say, I get sick, that person makes me sick to my stomach. Well, no one makes you sick to your stomach, but you've localized the stress in your stomach. Or that person gives me a headache. No, you give yourself a headache because you believe that there is a Pavlovian response going off and that person is responsible for it. So we try to make people responsible for how we feel, and we shouldn't. We're responsible for how we feel. And then after Hans Selye, who said there's two types of stress. There's good stress, the stress of, for example, going out, seeing a movie or a play or a Broadway show or going dancing, being with someone you like. There's a certain amount of good stress in it. There's certain anticipation. And all these different ways of exploring another person to get to know them, to get to know more about their thinking and their reactions, and suddenly seeing they have a sense of humor like you do, so you can laugh at the same things. These are all good stresses because we're not threatened by them. It's that which threatens us that causes distress. And he made a distinction between the two. So the fear of dying, the fear of disease, the fear of loss of a relationship, the fear of being inadequate creates distress. And then that sets off a whole series of biological consequences, not the least of which is heart disease. It's very simple. When you realize how many people are on caffeine and tranquilizers or antipsychotic medications each day, it's into the tens of millions, just in the United States, because we are constantly being stimulated by the fight or flight reactions. And those are not how we should be dealing with our problems each day. We should be measured, coming from reason, not reaction. But you can end up hurting yourself because the heart ends up taking a beating. And a very good study out of Harvard Medical School's Matthias School showed blood samples taken from medical students who were under a high level of stress were found to possess higher levels of white blood cells than normal. And that means cortisol is transforming the texture of white blood cells, making more likely to stick to the walls of blood vessels. That's bad, because that's one way you end up with a heart attack. Then you could have your immune system be under stress. As a result, you're more susceptible to catch a cold or viral infection. In fact, it's frequent when people have an argument at night to wake up with a sore throat in the morning. Now, mind you, we all carry in our throats staph and strep, but we don't all get staph infections or strep throat, because our body has learned to coexist with certain microorganisms as long as the dominant energy is in the healing and healthy bacteria. And you get stressed, you change that equation, and then you get sick. And all forms of things happen. That's why you never want people with cancer to be stressed. And yet the very diagnosis of cancer is stressing. All the chemotherapy and radiation they take really beats their body to a pulp, is very stressing. And also, look at what people do when they're stressed. They overeat. They go back to their comfort foods. And those are generally things that are very sweet or very saturated with unusable calories by the body. So we gain weight. And we are the fattest nation on earth. And we are the fattest kids of any developed nation on earth. So our children are eating themselves sick. Adults are eating themselves sick. And a lot of that is due to stress. Also, when you're under stress, your body does not heal the same. That's why when we're in a beautiful environment, a relaxing environment around nature, we heal faster. Interesting how we go to certain clinics or hospitals with no sense of bringing nature to the patient. But in Italy, in France, in India, very common for people to take in what they call the cures. Well, they'll go to they've had their operation or whatever they're diagnosed with, treatment, and then they'll go to a place and drink mineral water all day and take bitters. And this is especially true in your Scandinavian countries and Japan that are famous for having bitters. And these bitters are generally very bitter herbs that have been put into solution, and you're given teaspoons of these all day long, depending upon your condition. They're extraordinarily important for your immune system. And then they're drinking the water all day long, but in a very relaxed environment. So you want faster healing? Be in a de-stressed environment. Also, your sleep is affected. You're more likely to suffer from depression if you're stressed, and you're going to have more ulcers if you're depressed. So it's just some of the ways that being stressed, distressed, the unhealthy distress can impact our bodies. So when you're distressed, you're going to end up paying a price for it. I'm Gary Null. I want to share this with you also. This is an important article from the Lancet, one of the most respected medical journals in the world. And according to Natural Health, can we really trust the scientific literature? Well, according to the Lancet, they say, quote, a lot of scientific studies that are published are incorrect. And more scientists are coming forward to reveal their research or that their colleagues have been falsifying research. In fact, here's what Dr. Richard Horton, editor-in-chief of the Lancet, says, quote, the case against science is straightforward. Much of the scientific literature, perhaps half, may simply be untrue. Afflicted by studies with small sample sizes, tiny effects, invalid exploratory analysis, and flagrant conflicts of interest, together with an obsession for pursuing fashionable trends of dubious importance, science has taken a turn towards darkness. End quote. Wow. How about that? And even the peer review studies are not honest frequently. I interviewed a Dr. Marcia Angel, who was the former editor-in-chief for over 20 years with the New England Journal of Medicine. And she's also now a professor at Harvard, and she agrees with the latest assessment of the accuracy of medical literature. She goes on the record in Collective Evolution article saying it is not possible to believe much, if anything, of what is published in scientific medical journals. She goes on to say, quote, this is because of the poor judgment of the physicians who contribute to these journals, the lack of ethics in the junior and senior editors, and other similar reasons. And behind all this, we have to ask, who benefits? And the answer is relatively simple. The people who are behind the research. So you won't see the 99 studies they did that were flawed, that had bad results. You'll see the one study that they managed to have some tiny benefit to, and then they'll get a famous ghostwriter to put their name on it for prestige. They'll go to a journal where they have a lot of advertising, hundreds of millions of dollars in ads, and they're pretty sure they're going to get it published. Then they get it published in a peer-reviewed journal, but it has nothing to do with healing, nothing to do with honesty and science. It's a fraud. And that's what people are not aware of.